Alright, so I'm going to go over some of these special items. I've been wanting to do a video on the special items, and um, the most basic of these are the spawner and the minerals. They're very important for your Conquer maps, right? Um, you're just adding extra minerals to the map with that, and the spawner is, again, for the Conquer map, important. And something that I didn't realize at first, this red sphere around it is pretty important that you use that to have a good understanding of just how big um, a space you should be designing your um, for these spawners. So when you place not only these spawners but the mineral nodes to go that could potentially become spawners in a Conquer map, you really should pay attention to this red sphere. And the reason for that is that anywhere inside of this sphere, um, your this spawner could become that level 2, level 3 spawner, which has this force shield around it, and also anywhere in that you should expect the sentinels to pop up. And if a sentinel pops up inside of a wall, or the head of the sentinel goes up through a ceiling or through a wall or whatever, you could have a sentinel in those maps because the spawner got placed by a larva too close to that wall, right? That sentinel that now is shooting through walls, right? Because it's actually inside of a wall and it's just shooting out, or it's inside of a rock and it's shooting through the rock. The colliders on the walls matter, but if the sentinel's able to pop up there because the map maker wasn't considerate for it, that can be a problem. So spawners, that's kind of important. Minerals, real straightforward. You got to have a whole bunch of those in a Conquer map for the Overmind to expand to. Enemy spawn balls are obviously important for those other types of maps where you get those, where you're using these to spawn enemies. There is this little red surrounding it. I definitely recommend that as you place these on the map, you consider where that red lands. I like to have that, within that little line of nav mesh that goes over the all walkable terrain when you turn on show nav mesh after previewing the world. Drop points, so you can place multiple drop points for the dropship. It'll just randomly select one of those every frequency seconds. So by default, it's set up to drop a dropship box every 90 seconds. You can have those drop all over the map if you want to, by placing those drop points. So minor waypoints in a in a escort map are going to be important in order to trace your miner's path. Path indicators in a stage-based map can be good, because you can set these up to work or to show which direction your players need to go in order to find their way, especially if you've made a relatively confusing map. Non-walkable. So this is a neat. This is a neat. We'll call this like a zone. If you place this in a space, everything, like, it will, as the game builds the walkable terrain, it'll just skip this box here. It will make that box not walkable. So if somebody tries to jump onto this space right here, they'll get stuck. They won't be able to walk. So that's good. That's good for like if you don't want people to be able to walk around on top of the warp gate, you could put it there. Or the next one is the invisible platform. So let's say we make a 10 by 10 invisible platform, right? But we want it to actually have a slightly different shape to it. Or, you know, we've got something that's, let me use as an example one of the basic shapes, right? If I put this sphere on it, right, that would, somebody might be able to jump onto this sphere and then step out onto this platform, this invisible platform. Well, I don't want that, so I can make the invisible platform not walkable around that sphere, right? So yeah, if they wanted to, they could still jump onto the sphere here, but when they got down to the edge of the sphere, it would become unwalkable, and it wouldn't connect, the nav mesh wouldn't connect to this invisible platform that's around it. So, because, now let's talk about that invisible platform. Invisible platforms have this special ability of A, not being able to be seen, but B, anything can walk onto an invisible platform, but nothing can jump onto an invisible platform. So if you put an invisible platform up in the sky, let's say you spawn dragons onto it, right? That invisible platform's up there, and the dragons can move around on networks of invisible platforms, but you, as the player, can't jump out onto that platform so long as you haven't walked onto it from something else. So again, back to my example here, if I have a massive network of invisible platforms, but I've got some objects that I want to make sure that people can't walk down onto the platforms from, I can use a non-walkable zone to make some area of walkable terrain not walkable, or some area of walkable nav mesh, right, invisible platform or otherwise, I can make that not walkable, right? So that's cool. Invisible walls. This is different. It's not walkable, and there's no going through it. So it's straight up just a flat. That's a wall. Nobody's going through it. Nobody's getting into it. It's basically a box, but there's nothing to it. So you can make it flat and make walls out of it, or you can make hard floors, basically, that they're not walkable floors, but they're floors nevertheless. You won't be able to fall through it. Okay, spawn blocked. This is an interesting one. So in theory, and it doesn't always work in theory, but in theory, if you put that there, then no player is going to be able to place any units in that zone. That'll be a zone that's, free from building. You can't spawn mechs in there, can't spawn droids, can't spawn drones or whatever, turrets inside of this zone, assuming that you've placed it properly and it's working properly. That should make that space unspawnable. It doesn't always work, but it's there. Kill volume. So you can use this to make sure that, let's say we put killer gases or whatever in this space, and you want to make that a kill volume, you could do that. It's just a box that you know, as a trigger. As soon as the player goes into it, they're dead. Cloud volumes. Okay, so cloud volumes are awesome, but they're a little tricky. So there's only like a specific point, and it's very tiny in this massive cloud, right? That's, I don't know whether you can see this, but there's this massive cloud that is a little bit tricky to see from the from certain angles and whatever, but it's huge, and there's only really a small point on the whole thing that you can touch and manipulate. But if you want to, you can use these to decorate your skies, but if you do, it's going to be hard to grab, delete, and move them ever. They are not hard. You can fall through them. That's one of the few things that don't have collisions of some kind in them. But they're pretty cool. Water body. So the water is awesome. It does have collision, right? So player lands on it. If everybody knows from the game, from the map Planetary Defense, that you can't jump and fall through water, but you can walk down terrain. Let me use this builder element to demonstrate. So if I raise the ground around this, then I can put this in here, right? To create myself a little pool. So the player can walk down and, wade into it, but if they jump, they'll land on it, and it'll almost skate like ice across it. They'll have to just jetpack back out of it, probably, because they can't walk. That said, you can make a deep, pool underneath it, right? Somebody who tries to jump onto it won't fall through, but somebody who walks down through it will get down, and they'll actually be in a whole open underwater area. So it's really not underwater. It's just a visual effect, really. But that's been used to, hide whole zones from view, is to just create a lake level or whatever above it, so that when you wade into it, you then just walk down into a whole new zone. So there's that. There's different colors of water. The reward box. So the reward box is cool. You can just set it up. The default is minerals. You can set it to health, but you can also set it to be a specific weapon, which includes the team switcher grenade. That's the mind control grenade. So, and then you can set it up as a power-up, invisibility or increased damage, or a unit. So this is a way that if you, say, go into the game mode and under general set which units are allowed, and therefore very specifically turn off, say, teleport points, you could come in here and put a teleport point on the map so that they can then have that. They just have to defend it. You can turn off the armory, but give them an armory, right, in the shape of building a reward box that gives them the armory, right? This used to be the only way that we could give people dropship, but now they've given us this advanced structures tab, that we can turn on in a map, and then they can have drop ships. So if you want, you can. This is a whole thing right here. If you want, you can put gravity disable on versus off, and that means that if you set it up in a particular place with gravity on, right, it should fall and land properly or whatever. But if gravity disable is off, then, or gravity disable is disabled there, right, it'll be locked in place the way that it, exactly as you've placed it, I guess. Alien Artifact Spawner is not actually in the game yet, but you can put these. At one point, they were working on, and it's not in the game, but they were working on the ability to put these in maps so that in the future, when they actually have an event that uses these, people can go around and collect these by playing maps that have them and then finding them and collecting them. I'm not really sure exactly how that's supposed to work, but if, map makers use them and put them in the game, or put them in their maps, then those maps can be potentially utilized later for that community collection event or whatever. I'm not really sure what that's going to be, but energy wall is pretty neat. This is a item that is destroyable, so it works like a wall, but if we place this, say, in a doorway or whatever, then as the player comes up to it, there's this energy wall in the door frame, and they can shoot to destroy the energy wall, and that if they don't kill it, it will regenerate over time. There's no additional configuration for it, so you can't add more health or adjust the respawn speed of it. But it's there, and it's an option, and some people just use it to decorate. It's kind of cool for that too. Ammo crates for maps where you want people to be able to respawn, or just as decoration. Teleport pads. These are the teleport pads that allow people to teleport around. A, B, and neutral is if you are making a PvP map and you want teleport pads to be specific to one team or the other. Steam. There's 3 different Steam assets, and you are limited to 3 of each. They make noise. They're not all that great to use in a map unless you really like that hissing sound. Flame. So this does not look like that when it's rendered, but you can place it and you'll get those flame bursts. It is scalable. You can adjust what it looks like by the scale. Rideable turrets are cool. So if you place this on the map, somebody can come up to this turret and grab hold of the handles and fire it, just like the turrets on the rideable mech and the dropship. That does it for special items that are in special. The tower automatically has a teleport pad on it, so even though it's not actually in the special items list, it's under the bright category. The tower is something that I would consider a special item. I think that covers everything that is truly kind of a special item. Very cool. Good luck out there.